Abdullah Aksoy, Turkey's first gay serial killer. A killer that no one noticed. A story from the darkness of the past that turned the basement of his house into a cemetery. 15 missing people, unsolved mysteries, and terrifying confessions. Turkey's least known serial killer, Abdullah Aksoy. So, what was the motivation behind these horrific murders? How can a person harbor such darkness under his own house? Today, we are bringing this forgotten story to light. Get ready to delve into the depths of fear and mystery, because this story hides much more than what you hear. Welcome to Sorvik. Abdullah Aksoy was born in 1934 in Konya, Turkey. He was one of 3 children of a farming family. His siblings went to Germany to work as they grew up, while Abdullah stayed in Konya. When he was 15, an accident in the field caused the illness that would affect his entire life. Abdullah became an epileptic. He would frequently have seizures and faint. People felt sorry for him and tried to support him. Due to the low level of education at the time, Abdullah was considered crazy in the region he lived in. Abdullah's strange behaviors also played a role in this situation. In time, Abdullah moved away from his family and started living on his own and got married. But this marriage did not last long and his wife left him. No one knew the reason for this. It was only known that Abdullah was not normal. Abdullah married once more after his first wife left him. He had children from this marriage, but whatever was going on in the house, his wives left him. The same thing happened again, and he was left by his second wife. The real truth would come out in time. In 1962, Abdullah started working at a construction site. He invited a friend he worked with to his house. After the 2 co-workers chatted and drank for a while, Abdullah proposed to his friend for sex. When the man did not accept Abdullah's offer, the atmosphere immediately became tense. Abdullah attacked his friend with the ads he had with him. The man fainted after the blow he received. After Abdullah got over the shock of the incident, he thought the man was dead and started planning to dispose of the body, but luckily the man was alive. The man managed to escape from the house at the first opportunity he got and went to the police station injured and reported the situation to the police teams. The police went to the house where the incident took place within an hour. Abdullah claimed that he had gotten into a fight with his friend, but that he had not proposed sex. Abdullah was sentenced to 80 days in prison as a result of the court he was brought to after questioning. His self-confidence had increased after he was released. At that time, important historical excavations had begun in Konya. Important archaeologists from all over the world had come to the region for the excavations where important steps would be taken for the World Heritage. The excavations in the region also provided job opportunities for the public. Abdullah also started working in a team that was necessary to help the archaeologists in these areas. After work, he would stop by the coffee houses for a short while and sit alone, then perform the evening prayer in the mosque and go home. When looked at from the outside, he had the profile of a lonely and devoted person. Of course, he also had a dark side that no one knew about. The real reason Abdullah went to the coffee houses was to set targets for himself. He especially chose men who had come to the region for excavation work, because if he targeted someone from the local people, this could be understood in a short time. He would observe people who had just come to the region for excavation work and had not yet met anyone, and he would prepare his plans. Over time, he found a way to establish a conversation environment with them. He would invite the people he chatted with to his house and never hear from them again. Since these people were new to the region and they did not know anyone, missing persons reports were also late. The only complaints the police had were the families of the missing people. Until 1967, people continued to disappear one by one. That year, things changed when a new commissioner was appointed to the region. An idealist commissioner named Ibrahim Altan started working by combining all the missing people files. There were only 7 known missing persons reports. How could 7 people disappear in such a small village? More importantly, 2 German archaeologists and 3 Turkish technicians were among the missing persons. When the evidence regarding the recorded events was investigated, it was revealed that all of them were men between the ages of 45 and 55. Since the commissioner had just been assigned to the region, he kept his identity and investigation secret. No one knew he was a commissioner except the police. The commissioner began spending time in coffee houses where missing people were last seen. In this way, he could come across a suspicious person, and that is what happened. One day, the man he was waiting for entered the door of the coffee house. There was a man with a slightly stooped walk and his head bowed. The man who entered sat alone and sipped his tea, making eye contact with the commissioner. The commissioner suspected him at the moment. The first order he gave as soon as he left the coffee house was to investigate this man. According to the information he learned, the man he saw in the coffee house was Abdullah Aksoy. The commissioner had this suspicious man followed step by step. According to him, he was the prime suspect, but Abdullah had done nothing during the pursuit. Just when the police teams were about to lose hope, a woman from the region reported that she had not heard from her husband for a while and that he was missing. The commissioner ordered Abdullah to be brought to the police station for the first time. When Abdullah came to the police station, he ate the raisins he took out of his pocket, and the woman who came to make the complaint suddenly changed her gaze. Because her husband had put raisins in his pocket when he left the house, Abdullah was eating the raisins he took out of his pocket at the same day. When the woman reported the situation to the police chief, Abdullah's house was requested to be searched. When the teams entered the house, they found the missing person's wristwatch and red-stained clothing. At first glance, some evidence was obvious. During the investigation, a police officer noticed a different elevation on the ground. When the commissioner approved the excavation, the moments of horror began. As they dug, lifeless bodies were found. All of them were lying in the fetal position. Abdullah was literally sitting on a cemetery. As a result of the investigation, it was revealed that Abdullah had sexual abuse with the men he killed. Even more frightening, after ending the lives of some of them, he had abuse with the lifeless bodies. After the excavations that continued until the morning that night, the bodies of exactly 5 people were found. Abdullah was being questioned by the commissioner at the police station, but he did not confess to anything. He would frequently have epileptic seizures and faint during the interrogations. Therefore, the interrogation could not proceed properly. While investigating Abdullah, the commissioner noticed that he had moved houses 3 times. He wondered why he had moved houses 3 times in a small village in the region. Thereupon, he requested that work be done in other houses. The real horror scenes were happening now. Someone was coming out from under each excavated house. As the police dug, they encountered new bodies. They were facing a very dangerous serial killer. As the excavation operations continued, the total number had increased to 10. When the commissioner took office, the number of known missing persons was 7, but 10 people who had lost their lives were found buried under different houses. The people who moved into those houses after Abdullah and learned that there were bodies under the houses they lived in were having nervous breakdowns. The local people were going through very bad times. After the number reached 10, Abdullah finally accepted the charges. Abdullah confessed that he listened to the devil and that he was a passive homosexual. He had committed all these crimes. He said that he had moved to another house because the houses he lived in were full. Abdullah ended up in prison after his confessions. The gathering of the insane was expected for his trial. While he was in prison, he was also following the news about him. He was curious about how he was being talked about. One day in 1967, he committed suicide in the prison he was staying in. No one, including his father, claimed Abdullah Aksoy's body. For this reason, he was buried in a cemetery for the helpless, and his body was stoned by the public while being taken to the cemetery. In 1990, after 23 years, during construction work in the garden of a house in the region, one of the workers found something very interesting. A skull. The owner of the house called the police without even realizing what had happened. As the police who arrived at the scene continued to dig, The total number of bodies reached 5. But now, all that was left of those buried there were bones. The owner of the house was taken into custody. The man was shocked and tried to explain that he had not committed such a crime. When the police asked when he bought the house, he said he had owned it for a long time. During these interrogations, he also remembered that he had rented his house for a while and that his tenant was Abdullah Aksoy. Everything suddenly became clear, and the file that was closed 23 years ago was reopened. So, who were the people buried here? The answer to this was revealed only in 2008. Developing forensic studies determined that the remains found belonged to 2 German archaeologists and 3 Turkish technicians who disappeared in Konya in 1965. These people were never found at that time. Abdullah Aksoy reminded us of what a monster he was years later. In this case, the number of murders committed increased to 15. Even though Abdullah died, his curse did not leave the region for a long time. The remains of his actions continued to emerge long after. It was understood by the researchers that Abdullah was affected by the archaeological excavations he worked on while burying his victims after the crimes he committed. It was learned from the findings in the archaeological excavations that the people in the old investigated region did not bury their dead relatives far from themselves. Abdullah Aksoy must have been affected by this while working here, and he turned the basement of his own house into a cemetery. Abdullah Aksoy, Turkey's least known serial killer, first came to the fore thanks to new remains found in 1990. Abdullah did such bad things that the locals refused to even mention his name. This is exactly who Abdullah Aksoy was. We have come to the end of a video. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video. You can write what you think about this story in the comment section. So, do you think Abdullah Aksoy's story is just an individual tragedy or a critique of society? See you in the next video.